First, there was the Buy American provision, which was included in the American Jobs Creation Act. All right. This was followed by the announcement that Canadian travelers will have to pay a $5.50 tax when they enter the U.S. by air or sea. So they're, again, it's like they're doing this in the guise of, well, we're going to help the taxes, we're going to reduce all this bullshit, we're going to make it easier. And meanwhile, slowly remove our sovereignty, because the banks are going to come in and say, because Canada's just as bad as we are, and we're going to explode, Canada's going to explode, and the banks are going to come in with this, you know, like this world government's solution.
Here's the thing about it, though, Howie. I understand your continuum theory. Mm-hmm. However, you have had presidents who have bucked the status quo and the establishment. I mean, they got killed, but
yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but Obama's not one of them.
But I disagree with you about that.
No.
I really,
oh my God.
I don't think, when it comes down to it, knowing that he could be, quote unquote,
do you know that he was groomed by Rockefeller? Do you know that he did his intern work at the Council on Foreign Relations? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
He is just a minion. He is like Clinton. They all are cut from the same. Like Clinton's the Rhodes Scholar. He's the Harvard boy. It's all the same shit. They're all like they're like, in other words, they're just different offshoots. He's not Skull and Bones, like Bush was, but many of the presidents were. So, but it's this club, and you don't have to say, like, forget about the satanic element, forget about all that bullshit. Just the fact that it's a nepotism club, and he's part of it, and he's gonna make $50 million when he gets out of as a president, because that's what it is. You become this celebrity, and he could destroy the whole country, and it doesn't matter. He's gonna be looked at as fine.
Howie.
Yeah.
That's cynical.
It's very cynical, but it's true, because honestly, he is doing his job. They are going to help him because he is going to accomplish what he was put in place to do. Just like Bush. Believe it or not, everyone's bitching and Bush, and he should be arrested, and there are countries where he can't even go, because literally if he steps down on their land, they'll arrest him for war crimes, okay? And Henry Kissinger too, okay? It doesn't matter. Everyone's like, he writes a book and people buy it and he's fine. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't matter if Obama is responsible for, I mean, literally millions of deaths already, because you got to look at the way what's going on, what he's been part of in the last 2 years, because of the fact that this whole Libyan uprising, all of these deaths.
He wasn't the cause of the uprising.
No. But it's like the CIA does the destabilization. Then you got the NATO. NATO tells Obama what to do, so he goes in there and 30,000 people are killed.
I gotta disagree with you on that.
NATO tells him what to do. In fact, Ron Paul was on record, and he got scolded by saying that he doesn't do anything through Congress. He just says, the UN gave me approval. That's on record. The UN said I can do it. And 30,000, listen, and you know what's really horrible about it? Do you know what happened in Libya? 30,000 Libyans were killed, because so-called Gaddafi's such a tyrant. And then the mob, the quote-unquote Al-Qaeda mob, by the way, that was backed by our own people, Al-Qaeda, okay, Al-Qaeda is now running the government, Al-Qaeda, and then Al-Qaeda rounds up the blacks, because they hate the blacks, and brings them into concentration camps and slaughters them on record, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And because there's this like ethnic cleansing, because they hate them, and they brought them up just for that purpose. And this is sick. This is the New World Order. This is what they do, bro. And I can't explain it anymore. Now, the North American Union, he is just doing formalities. The agenda's been set. This has been put in place in 2005. He's just going there to continue the agenda. And unfortunately, it's getting closer. Now, what they're going to do is, when everybody's at wit's end and there's no money left and the credits are all gone and the economy is crushed, they're going to say the only way we can solve this is through the North American Union, the new currency. It'll protect everything, and everyone's going to buy into it. And then world government would be in place, fully in place, where now the United States gives up its sovereignty to take on this. That's what they're doing. That's their goal. And you think it's far off. I mean, it's so close. It can happen in 2 years. It can happen that fast. It can happen and then the people, you just have to say, no way, no, don't do it. Everybody has to rise up and say that don't let this happen, because these governments are doing it all over the world. They're not paying attention. They're taking away sovereignty. All of the European nations that are signing on to these deals are giving up their sovereignty. They're giving it up because and it's the same things happening here. The same thing is happening here. So the North American Union is evil. And it's just another example.
I was never down with NAFTA.
Well, it's the whole NAFTA and GATT are all the.
This is a good deal, Larry.
I was never.
Larry, this is a good deal for America.
Here's the thing about it.
Rockefeller said, "I'm so glad that you're so behind the North American free trade. It'll be so good for our economy." Because these are collectivists. They frauded us. They frauded us into believing it, brother. They frauded us.
I
into
never believed
believing
it. I never believed it.
No, the country.
Instinctively.
My father, he was party line Democrat. So if Al Gore said it was that, it's fine. If Al Gore says the fucking sky is green, it's fucking green. Now global warming is global cooling. So now we got to change the story. Now everything's global cooling. You know, it's dumb. It's dumb. Makes me crazy. Now listen, I wanted to spend the rest of the time.
You are crazy.
I am a little bit on the edge there. I guess
crazy.
sometimes on the edge, but. There's a lot of stuff to go over. Some of this stuff I'm going to have to actually put off for tomorrow's show.
Can you use four-letter words on your show?
You can say anything you fucking want.
Really?
Yeah, sure. This is
I'm not used to
free speech radio.
My mom would. She would.
Well, listen. I don't personally. I think that if you curse, it does sort of like make you lose a little bit of credibility. But on occasion, you might want to just expand a point or I do it. Really, I must say I go through this stuff honestly, Jacques, and sometimes it's so frustrating and so aggravating that I scream because people don't understand that I'm not it's not a joke, man. This isn't entertainment. I mean, we want to try to make it. We try to make it so people can listen to it and not be bored. But the information is real and it's no joke.
Well, here's the thing about it, though. Back in the day, when people wanted to make people aware of the establishment, they did it through song, they did it through art, they did it through music, and it was very impactful because you had people that were doing those kinds of things that understood them. Nowadays, I think people have tended to just shut off reality so that they can try to make their own reality, not realizing that you can't create your own reality unless everything else is coming at you straight.
That's right.
When those old proposals were being formed and brought to fruition, something instinctively inside me says, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, they talk about free trade. They talk about all these things. Free trade.
Free trade right there. That is a no-brainer.
It's not, it's not free. I mean, if it was truly free trade, that's it. But I mean, the trade imbalance is such that it's intended.
But why should we have any type of free trade anyway?
Well, the whole thing is just a mess. The whole thing is a mess. I mean, the whole energy policy. Listen, you got the same Rockefeller oil interests funding the environmental movement. So that's really, I mean, come on, think about that. So they're controlling their own opposition 100%. So that's why these places where, like in North Dakota and in Montana, where there's literally 3.5, I think, billion barrels of recoverable oil, we're not going for it because the environmentalists say it'll kill a couple of birds. But these animals will starve people in Darfur and other places in the world and say give to UNICEF so we can feed these people. And for 35, 40 years, 50 years, they've been feeding the world, unable to cure hunger. Think about it. It's a fraud. Well, there's just too many, and it's all this, and it's all this. And then we're going to put these clouds in there. We're going to do this geoengineering so that we can change the weather so it'll grow. They can grow crops there. And Bill Gates is going to help out. And Bill Gates and Buffett are the richest men in the world, which is like a lie. That's like calling, I don't know. I don't know how it's like calling any millionaire the richest person in the world because it's a lie. Because even if they're worth 50 billion, 100 billion, the Rothschilds and their interests are in the $40 trillion. So who's laughing? How can you actually say stuff like that? How could you actually say that? They're collectivizing all the wealth to bring us back, literally. 500 years plan. They've been planning this to bring us back to the serfdom, but now they have actually conquered monarchs. Now through the creation of the Illuminati and the United States, actually, the United States was actually set up to really destroy monarchies, and it worked. But now the idea was that they were going to take over control of the world from it, and that's what they did, or are doing, through this destruction of monarchies. And they really did, didn't they? Didn't the banks sort of like take over the monarchies? I mean, the Rothschilds really are wealthier than the monarchs, you know, than the ruling class families, technically, you know. So that collectivism was done intentionally. It's not a coincidence that the Illuminati was founded in 1776. The whole thing, and then it wasn't a coincidence that all of these Masons, like Pierre Lafont, designed this, like the streets of Washington D.C. and the buildings to have this perfect geometrical configuration to like these Luciferian things. It's really it's no doubt. This is all true, but I'm digressing. Numerology, because today's the 11-11-11 thing. I wish my friend Chris Freedom Flowers was able to join us, but unfortunately he's unable to. He is an expert on numerology. But there's some very interesting things about numerology and historical events. Like, what happened, for example, historically on September 11th? Now, everyone knows September 11th, 2001, but there are many historical events that occurred that were equally as impactful, if not even more so, in some cases. Important things happened. For example, Charles the Great crowned Louis I emperor in the year 1813. Isaac II Angelus killed Stephanos Hadricristophoridis and then appealed to the people, resulting in the revolt of a disposing of Andronicus I, and places Isaac at the throne of the Byzantine Empire, a false flag attack on September 11th, 1185. The year 1185, false flag attack, blaming it on another, killing and taking over a monarchy for the Byzantine Empire. On September 11th, 1226, the Roman Catholic practice of public adoration of the Blessed Sacrament outside the massive spreads from monasteries to parishes in 1226. And again, this is just like, oh, they would love that, you know, murder and mayhem resulting something coinciding with the Catholic Church. But it's very interesting, the numerological elements. There's a lot of them. I can go through, but to get to recent history, most people don't even remember a lot of these things, except, you know, like the massacre of Drogheda Cromwell, where 3,000 royalists were killed on September 11th, 1649, and Oliver Cromwell seized Drogheda, Ireland, and most of the inhabitants were massacred. They don't, you know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's incredible history. Charles the 12th of Sweden on September 11th, 1708, stops his march to conquer Moscow outside of Smolensk, marking the turning point in the Great Northern War. The army is defeated 9 months later, which is a Illuminati number. I'll go into the occult numerological significance of the number 9. 9 months later, in the Battle of Poltava, and the Swedish Empire is no longer a major power. So they destroy the Swedes on September 11th, 1708. Now, going more into current history, on September 11th, 1773, Ben Franklin wrote, "There never was a good war or a bad peace." Interesting. As far as events going down, get a little more into current history. There's a lot of them, actually. Get into current times. On September 11th, 1914, Australia invades New Britain, defeating a German contingent there. On September 11th, 1916, German troops conquer Cavalia, Greece. On September 11th, 1916, the Quebec Bridge's central span also collapses, killing 11 men. The bridge initially collapsed once before on August 29th, 1907.